Today we are having the new moms and expectant moms seminar. It is hosted by Mama Tendo Foundation and with our partners, Case Hospital. And we have with us Dr. Herbert Kaiga, who most of us know if you are on the Mama Tendo WhatsApp group, who has shared with us passionately in the past and answered all our easy and difficult questions. And he is here with us today to share in person on Zoom. So let us put our virtual hands together and clap for his presence. And I would also like to thank so much Case Hospital for their support for mothers. This support has been going on for years, for quite a long time. And one of the very things that I will never forget, I would like us to welcome at this time, I want us to welcome Dr. Herbert Kaiga. Thank you very much. He's going to address a topic which I already mentioned to us, but I can be able to read it. Things every woman must know about going into labor and after birth care. So thank you very much. And Dr. Herbert, you are most welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much for this opportunity to join in with the Mama Tendo Foundation. Mama Tendo, you really inspire so many women out here, and everyone looks forward to hearing and learning more about the experiences. You know, I think sometimes childbirth, either it's overrated or sometimes we do not know what to expect. But we appreciate the little extra mile that you keep going for the individual mother, for the first timer, the experienced ones, and you know, we all fall in different categories. And it's a pleasure to be hosted today. I see there is a lot of big backup in the Zoom from my head of department is already on, Dr. Cheyune Frank. I see the midwives already on. So just know, even in the background, there are many friends in the background. So I really know that even when some issues might not be well tackled, I know at the background we'll get many of the answers sorted out. It's a beautiful experience to get into labor. Until I studied medicine, I'd never known that children are a blessing from the Lord. So I get there, and I'm luckily enough, I've been married for over 11 years. So the first 2 years we tried to get a baby, and the baby was a bit interestingly not coming, and I thought I would manipulate the system, and things were not working out. My wife is a doctor, I'm a doctor. Like, in the family, medicine is not a problem, but for one reason or the other, babies were not coming. So, and now when they come, there is a lot of pressure. Is a mogol vomiting? Then you want to wonder, why should she vomit when you're a doctor? And we come out with so many experiences. Like, immediately you get into love. You think that every time I'm going to sleep with a man, I'm going to conceive. And then ultimately you find yourself that the babies are not coming. And then finally, when they come, then there are so many scripts. Everyone seems to have written something new. Should I expect? Some tell you that when you shower this herb, maybe things are going to be easier. When you get oil and you smear on your tummy, then the baby will just slide through, and then the baby's out. And then there is all this people overreaching the cesarean section. Others are like vaginal delivery. Everyone keeps giving you a piece of their advice. So it prepares me. And as a gynecologist, I've learned that whenever the children come, they're a blessing from the Lord. And it comes as a special package. So we have so many experiences. I remember those days when we used to be in P7 and they're telling you that when you're sitting for a PLE exam, my God, the papers are going to be pink. Others will tell us they are blue. Others tell us they are white. And as you just go in there, you do not know exactly what to expect. Do I write using a black pen? Do I use a blue pen? And it's your first exam. And just like giving birth, it's usually a similar experience. Some tell you I took many days, others tell you I took minutes, and others are like, okay, what should I do to be able to have a normal child? So we all come at this moment in time of giving birth, and we do not know what to expect. And then when it comes to private practice, sometimes when you go into, and every time you keep packing the things in the bag, you go to the car, you reach the hospital, they are like not in labor, then you come back with the things at home. And then the next time you do not know exactly now what are some of those things I need to watch out for, to be able to know that now it's time to go to hospital. Because I think with the era of insurance, if it's normal delivery, you're entitled to 2 days. If it's a cesarean section, the package is 4 days. So how do I get to know that this is the right time even to move in hospital? So it drives me to the first point that what is labor? Because it's still a mystery, even us, to the scientists, because no one seems to know the right time when someone goes into labor. And there are many theories. Some are going to go in at 37, others go in at 40, others even after 42 weeks, they do not have a single contraction. And then you're wondering, am I going to leave this baby to stay in or not? So there are many theories that we think about labor, and some believe that maybe when the baby is alive, then it's a different way they are going to go into labor. When the baby is dead, it's different. When I'm having twins, maybe I'll go in earlier, and others do not. So we don't seem exactly to know what sparks off. And I think that's why the Bible also tries to talk about that Jesus is coming will be like a woman going into labor, because no one seems to know when someone actually is going into labor. So that aside, so what are the signs of labor? So sometimes we all have a different path that we take, but there are three classical signs of labor that we look out to. One of them is that you get contractions or like pains in the lower abdomen. Sometimes it's back pain, and they seem to be continuously growing stronger and stronger and stronger. That is a sign that labor is established. And usually what we call established labor, someone tends to get 3 contractions lasting at least 30 to 40 seconds, but they are consistent. So you're able to get about 3 contractions about in 10 minutes. So when you notice that the pattern is actually consistent, then maybe it's time to check on your doctor. Because some women, like I said, we all have different abilities. Some women get what they call precipitate labor, and precipitate labor means that within 4 hours you start and you're able to deliver a baby in a very short time. So when you're overweight, then you're going to deliver the baby in your car. And others, it's really much slower than this. But when you get labor pains, or like pains that are consistent, that is a sign that I need to check on my doctor. So when these contractions come in, then the cervix tends to soften, and it softens. So that is what in medicine we would call effacement. And as it softens and softens and becomes softer, then it starts opening out more and more. That's what we call dilatation. So those are some of the signs. So some people, water can break, meaning the membranes, there is a thin layer that covers the cervix. So when it breaks, then the water can pour. That can be a sign of labor. If it occurs before 37 weeks or before onset of labor, that is what we call early rupture of your membranes. If it's before 37, then we call it premature rupture of membranes. If it's between 37 to 37, after 37 weeks, we call it term rupture of membranes or PROM. So for some women, the waters can break. Others might experience only pain. But as the cervix also starts to open out, there is a mucus plug and some small vessels. So those small vessels, as the cervix opens, they tend to open out and they release a bit of blood. So when it mixes up with that mucus plug, which was preventing infections from ascending, so we can get what they call a show, meaning you get mucus, which is mixed up with a bit of blood. So that is what we call a show, and it's bloody. Some people can even get actual blood bleeding, but these are all signs that it's time to go and check on your doctor. In this era, we tend to deliver a lot. It's much safer when we're in hospital because we have antibiotics, we have drugs, we can monitor your baby. But like in Europe, America, you're able to have a delivery at home. So also these are some of the signs that can point you to maybe it's time to move to hospital. So those are the basic ones, but of course there are other exaggerated ones, like of course where you can bleed. Sometimes you get a headache, like in presentations of complications. Like you get blurring of your vision. Sometimes you get in the headache. Sometimes you get a very sharp pain in your abdomen, upper, and these are signs that some maybe you could be having preeclampsia. So um, that that can be a sign that maybe also you need to go to check on your doctor. Other signs that we could as well get, you could have like swelling of your legs. If they are very exaggerated, it could also be a sign, not necessarily confirming that you could have high blood pressure, but it could be also another sign that maybe there is a possibility of your pressure being high and that you need to come and check on the doctor. So having tried to go through these when you come into hospital, of course, throughout the pregnancy time, we are going to keep reviewing the plan. How are you going to deliver? How do you go about the delivery process? So every doctor or every midwife needs to tell you, and you have to keep revising the delivery plan. In Africa and also other places, we're thinking that if someone is able to have a normal vaginal delivery, then they are the strong woman, the strong women, they are the geniuses. But I think at the end of it all, what matters is the ability to have a healthy baby and a healthy pregnancy, resulting in a safe mother and a safe baby. Those are the objectives. So whether it's going to go vaginal or cesarean, it's another thing, and we have different indications. But at least we need to keep planning and talking about the delivery plans. So when I get into labor, what are some of those signs that are going to help me make it through? When do I decide to have maybe like drugs? And when do I choose to decide to be strong? When do I choose to abandon my venture? The only thing about medicine, which I don't like about being a doctor, is like, I wish it was like in photography where you get a scene, and then when you notice that maybe that particular person did say a nice thing and it's going to disturb our video, then you rewind and then you cut out that part and then you play. If it's engineering, go to Seka Market, buy another engine. If this one has gotten spoiled, put in the car and you're back on the road. If it's cooking, it's even more beautiful. When you notice that the cassava is not ready, add more water. When you check that it's not ready, pack again, and then boil again, and then the food will be ready. But the problem with medicine is that, one, if you choose to go in to do a delivery and you notice that actually the baby is not ready, then you cannot stitch again and then close again and come back another time to deliver the baby. And you'll notice that even when you're expecting, sometimes you give even these names to these children before they are born. And by the time maybe like baby Cuthbert or baby Liam or Sandra or any other name that you could really prefer, by the time the baby is born, they have already had the name. So it's so painful when you reach and you need to have a cesarean section, and then you can't make a decision because the father is in Dubai and his contact is off. Then you're like, let's wait for the contact to come on for me to decide how to deliver. So then there we've missed a golden opportunity. And unfortunately, throughout the training, even the way we practice medicine, you can never look at someone. And say that this one is going to push a baby vaginally. So until about 6 hours, that's when we say that she had a normal delivery. Meaning it's something that we say after some hours. So it's painful when you reach a time of giving birth and you fail to make the key important decisions. And every decision that goes around the time of giving birth, it has repercussions. If I'm supposed to do a cesarean section because maybe the cord has come out, I lose a bit of time, it's serious. If I'm supposed to do a cesarean section and I'm unable to do it In time, then the baby gets tired, then baby goes into the nursery, the bill goes higher, and then ultimately it could also affect the baby's brain. So labor, until you've come out of it, sometimes we cannot predict that you're going to have a normal delivery. So internationally, even according to the World Health Organization, we define normal labor when someone has pushed a baby who presents with a head, and then we assess 6 hours, the mother is healthy, the baby is healthy, then we say that person had a normal delivery. So it's something you always want to ask your gynae, will I have a normal delivery? And it's really normal and it's really natural. But much as it's our prayer, sometimes we can only make this impression later. So how can I have a fruitful delivery process? It's covered with so much fear. But like the Bible says in Isaiah 66, I think verse 7 or 8, that before she went into labor, she brought forth. So sometimes you can pray like a Hebrew woman, and before you get into labor, you actually push a baby. So you can actually start preparing for your normal delivery by praying about it and dedicating your delivery before God, and maybe He can bless you. But within our setting, what is it that we can do to improve the outcome of the delivery? So one, throughout this pregnancy and the walk of the pregnancy, try to identify who is that friend I can stick with. And sometimes our friends are our spouses. Sometimes it's mommy because she has gone through this process. Sometimes it's a best friend. And it doesn't matter, but you need that person to talk to. And research has shown that actually when you have someone who is friendly to you and you're able to work with them throughout the delivery process, then the outcome is actually much better. So as part of a birth preparedness plan, try to identify that friend who will be by me at that moment when I'm going to push this baby. Who would be by your side? You don't want someone who is going to come in, you've delivered 4 girls and this is a girl, and they're like, after it's even a girl, no wonder you woman, you're lazy and all this. So you really need a friend because it's labor, it's intense, it's work. And so you really need someone who is going to be able to understand you. And of course, now, like in our culture, which is good, I'm Muganda, and usually our mothers take the girls out at 6 a.m., they make them walk. That is good. The baby comes down. So you want to ask yourself, do I really have to do this? Shouldn't I really do this? But like when you walk, it's really healthy. And even when you come into labor, we are going to always give you these options. Sometimes you want to wonder, do I sleep for the baby to come? And then sometimes the midwives or the doctors, they would like you to sleep. Some prefer to squat, others prefer to walk around. But what is the ideal? According to science, it doesn't show that when you oversleep or when you overwalk around, that the outcome is better. But what is reassuring is that the more you keep making the exercises, then the outcome is actually much better. So what do I eat when I'm in labor? Do I come with my Rolex? Do I come with my some bring flasks of tea with too much coffee? Others believe I need to give tea leaves. So what is the science about that? So usually when you're in labor, the ability for your stomach to release the content is a little slower. But also when you're very dehydrated, it means that your tissues are not going to get enough blood flowing to them. So they work like they are tired. So in low risk, meaning like there is nothing else that can stop you from having a normal delivery, we want you to take a lot of fluids, preferably which have sugar, because the sugar is going to give you the energy to be able to deliver. But whether you take too much tea leaves might not necessarily be the answer. So and we've seen sometimes when you come to hospital, particular people have told us to take ginger or to take some smuggle in even herbs into hospital to make the process shorter, because all of us want something which you just come, do, get done, and you're finished with that. But for the reasons I've told you, that the stomach is a little slower in emptying, we would prefer that you take clear fluids, maybe like juice with sugar, that can give you the energy to be able to push a baby. But we try to discourage you also from eating a lot of like katogo, a lot of like chapati, Rolex, because the emptying is slower. And as the labor pains set in and they are stronger, like I said, then you're going to start throwing up. And we never know sometimes whether it helps or not. It brings me to another area of focus. And this area of focus is that when they give you an enema or something to bring out stool, does it make you better, like at labor? So my answer is that according to science, even when they give you an enema, it does not stop infections, it does not improve the outcome. And whether you swallow antibiotics or not, if you're going to have a normal delivery, it does not have any added benefit. Should I shave or shouldn't I shave? When should I shave? Of course, it's personal hygiene, and but according to science, there is no evidence that when you shave, you're much better. Though when it comes to the setting of a cesarean section where we need to make the incision much lower, below the Yonica line, when we shave and it's fresh, sometimes you can get bumps. Or sometimes you can get those who, like, as hair is coming out, you could get pustules. Pustules means there is a bit of pus that seems to be coming through. So you might need to know the ideal time to do it. We would prefer that you shave at least about maybe 2 to 3 days before coming to hospital in case you're to purpose, because that minimizes the risk of infections to you. What literally encourages many people to shave that, should I find myself in the setting of a cesarean section, as you put this primap or plaster, as you try to remove it afterwards, it can be painful if it's on hair. So it's good. Yeah, it's good to be able to tell. So about the painkillers, finally, I'll be taking a short break, but about the painkillers and pain management. Now it's painful and it's called labor pain. What do I do about this? So sometimes we have to embrace the pain, because when we give you some injections like pethidine, fentanyl, they will take away the pain, but they make you to vomit, feel nauseated, and at times they can actually make you to make the baby's breathing a little impaired. So we are better off waiting. And so this goes also to the nitrous oxide. Evidence shows that when we give epidural or spinal, they control the pain much better. But of course, it comes at a cost, an extra cost. Many insurances don't seem to cover it. And your labor can be prolonged by about 1 to 2 hours.
Thank you very much, Dr. Herbert, for bringing us this far, and it's quite interesting. Some people go with a lot of majani, I know, and they say nywa 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 nywa, or ebisabija kujjanyo bonywa nga chai muka. Well, there are so many African legends on childbirth, and it's part of our heritage, and our challenge is to sort out what is true and what is not. But we are so grateful for that, for what you have shared. I have picked a number of important points, why it's important to shave, the hygiene, and also those bumps not to get pain, and what to eat when you are coming to labor. Not katogo, not posho toyo ya kaunga, or because a lot of meat, because your system is slow and you're going to find challenges. Yes. And one of the things I think we'll explain is when you feel like you want to go to susu and you cannot, I think Dr. Herbert will explain more about that, what mothers can do. You feel you want to go to susu, but you feel something is sitting on you and you cannot do it. It's such a challenging time. You feel like the world is crumbling before you. So Lucky, you are going to share your first testimony. Lucky is part of our WhatsApp group for expectant moms and new moms. She's been with us before she had her son. and they call her head girl. They gave her the title. It's not me who gave them that title yet. So what they call her head girl. She lives in Masaka, but she's here with us on Zoom to share with us her journey. Thank you so much, Lucky, and we are happy to have you. Yes.
Thank you so much, Mama Tendo, for the intro. I hope everyone can hear me. My name is Esperanza Lucky Smaka, and I'm a first-time mom. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share with other ladies about my experience during labor and the kind of care I got afterwards. So when I got pregnant, early March in 2021, I was so excited. I was like, okay, I'm going to educate myself. I'm going to eat right, exercise, just do all the research I can, consult. And I did all that like throughout my pregnancy, apart from the first 4 months, when I was like really, really sick, everything smelled awful. I was in bed a lot. But after those 4 months, once I clocked 5 months, I was very active. I was riding my bicycle, I was dancing, I was running. I think I rode my bicycle until I was 7 months. And the reason that's why I stopped is because my stomach was so big, it wouldn't fit on the bicycle. That's why I stopped. But if it wasn't so big, I feel like I would have ridden the bicycle until 9 months. But so I was so grateful because even with the research and everything, when you don't have another person pregnant, like you, like going through the process in present, it can sometimes feel like you're the only one going through it. So I was so grateful. I don't really remember when the Expectant Moms group started, but whenever that group was opened, oh my goodness, that was just like a breath of fresh air for me. Like to have other pregnant women awake with me at 3. I mean, I remember would chat in the group till 5 in the morning because none of us could sleep. Because I mean, we're literally big. We're like elephants. Sorry. But yeah, I was looking forward to my due date. I remember I was supposed to be due on the 9th. But at the same time, every time I went to the scan, the guy would tell me that, oh, the baby's head is engaging. So you might go into labor very soon. Like you might not reach your due date. You might go like into labor 2 weeks before, or you might go into labor 2 weeks after. And so for me mentally, I was like, my bag was right at the door. Everything was packed and ready to go. But I waited and waited. The due date came, which was 9th December, nothing. I mean, I was getting the Braxton Hicks, but no cramps, no blood show, nothing. Oh, hi, Gority. I was getting no signs of labor at all. And then we entered into 10th. That's like the next day after my due date, nothing. 11th. On the 11th, nothing. On the 12th, which was my birthday, I went to the hospital where I was doing my antenatal care during daytime to, do a scan, make sure the baby is okay. Because the baby was playing inside, I could feel him playing, but there was no signs of labor. So they did the scan and I was told everything is okay, but I should go speak to a gyne for further like advice. Because for me, I was like, okay, I'm ready to have this kid. Please just induce me because the due date has passed. Because being a first-time mom, they always tell you, oh, you never know what could happen. Sometimes the baby comes earlier, sometimes it comes late, and sometimes when it's like when you pass the due date, you have to like go for an emergency C-section. But I was like, no, I don't think I've had any complications so far for the 9 months that require me to have a C-section. Because for me, mentally, I was prepared to push. Like right from the day I saw those 2 lines on that pregnancy test, I was like, mentally, my body can do this. And I kept telling myself that. So I saw the guy at Mulago, and he told me that let's wait until Monday. So yeah, 12th was like a what? A Sunday? Yeah, he was like, okay, let's wait till the next day. And if you pass tomorrow, if you pass 13th, you should come and we induce you and you like have the baby. So Sunday the 12th in the evening, when I came back from the checkup, because where I was doing my antenatal, it's a private clinic, so they're just open throughout the week. And that day, the guy I met at Mulago was available because he was the one, his section. So I even met him inside the theater at Mulago. So 12th, my birthday, a friend decides to throw me a small party. She cooked cake, luombo, chapatis, like the doctor said. I remember eating, I ate. And there was like this big hole I'm trying to fill. I ate so much matoke and ginat. I ate so much cake. I drank soda. I ate. It was my birthday. And that evening, I was like, okay, this baby doesn't want to come out of me. I'm going to dance and I'm going to jump. And we played music for like 3 hours straight. And I didn't stop dancing for 3 hours because I was like, I have to shake you down. I think that went until midnight. And then when I came back home, I was in the bathroom. I went to pee. And at first, when we were at the party, I would like, first time I went to the bathroom, must have been like at 9 p.m. I went to pee and because at this point, I was making sure I'm checking my toilet paper. So I wiped and I saw pink. My heart just went, excitement, just. And at midnight, when I went to pee again, this time it wasn't even pink anymore. It was like, the mucus plug it was like mucus, but then the blood in there was like thick, not like scary, like I'm bleeding, but it was just in there mixed. And I was so overjoyed. But then I was like, okay, I've kept people up all day because we were at this party, they were celebrating me. Let me just let people sleep and I'll wake them up like at 5 to take me to the hospital. But while I was doing that, I downloaded an app that you could use to track your contractions. So yeah, while people were sleeping, I was tracking my contractions. I was like, okay, stop. And the app would tell you, okay, now it's time to get ready to go. At the same time, I was talking to the ladies in the group and they were all like, Lucky, get up and go to the hospital now. But I was like, people have been awake all day for me. So let me just let them sleep. But the cramps continued. So finally, when it clocked 5, I woke up. I woke my husband up. I called my friend. I was like, hey, because she was supposed to come with me to the hospital. I was like, hey, because before we left her house, I was like, hey, I just saw something on my toilet paper. So tonight, just keep your phone on. So that's what she did. I called her at 5. She showed up at my house. And we went to Chitovu Hospital, which is in Masaka, because that's where I wanted to have my baby from. I didn't want to have the baby at a private clinic because according to my research that I had made, you have to make sure you go somewhere where there's like a blood bank or where there's blood in case of an emergency, where there's an ICU for the baby. I was prepared for anything. So I wanted to be somewhere where I wanted to be at a big hospital where I know that in case anything happens, my life can be saved quickly. Because I knew I was healthy. I knew I could push the baby. I was praying that everything goes perfectly. But at the same time, I was like, let me just go somewhere where there could be a plan B. I don't want to go to a private clinic and then find out that I'm losing so much blood and they don't have blood available and they have to go look for it somewhere in Mulago. So that's why I went to Chitovu. So yeah, on the 13th, 6 in the morning, or must have been like 5:30 or 6, we checked in. We arrived at Chitovu, and of course, nurses and midwives were sleeping because at that time of the morning they're kind of like snoozing off. The nurse, she must have been the midwife stroke nurse on call. She was like, where are your papers? I presented her the papers, and then she did the what do they call that thing? Membrane sweep, where they put the hands in and to check how many centimeters. And she was like, oh, you're 2 centimeters. I was like, okay, I can do this. So I checked into the room, and the cramps were still coming in slowly. I was like, okay, I can handle this. And I made my bed, I was like, I told my friend, you can go back and first do your work because I'm still okay. And then you'll come back later. So all day, just cramps, nothing extra. And I remember at some point, must have been like a 2. Oh, and I was also chatting in the group at the same time. And they were like, how are you in labor and still chatting with us? I was like, well, I'm not really feeling any pain. And I remember at some point, must have been like at 2 or 2:30, I commented, I was like, there's people that have been screaming in labor. I wonder if they were just exaggerating this thing because it's not that painful. I can handle the pain. At least that's what I thought. And I went outside the hospital, picking flowers, just listening to music, enjoying life. And also decorating my room, making it look nice and homey. Because I was like, okay, if I'm going to be here for 2 days or 3 days, let me just put some flowers and make it nice and welcoming. Hi. At 6, they do the sweep again. And they were like, you're only 4 centimeters since morning. Like, I was like, what? I made 2 centimeters in just 3 hours when I was home. How am I still just at 4? I thought by that time I should be like at 7. And the midwife was like, okay, since you've been cramping, and she's like, what are you feeling right now? I was like, well, it's just small cramping, like nothing major. She was like, okay, bring your bucket, like bring all your stuff, the baby stuff, your clothes. We are going to induce you. By that time, I called my friend back because she had left in the morning. I called her back. I was like, hey, they're going to induce me, come and be with me because I don't want things to get intense and I'm by myself. So she came back. My husband was around. She came with her husband. And luckily for me, I thank God, that day at Tendo, I was the only mom giving birth. So the whole labor suit, the whole room was just to me. So I had all my friends in. I came with a whole entourage, and we had a Bluetooth speaker. Throughout the labor, I was like dancing while playing music, and they had like one of those exercise balls. And every time I would feel like a contraction, at least that's what I thought it was. By this point, that put me on a drip. And every time pain would come, I was like practicing all the different things that I was learning from watching YouTube videos and Facebook birthing videos. So I did all those things like breathing in and relaxing and thinking positive thoughts, just telling myself my body is meant for this. I can do this. God created me to do this. I can do this. So, but at the same time, I was like, I kept on telling the midwife, you check again, make sure I'm like, opening up. She was like, no, you first wait. We don't check every 1 hour. We have to like skip some time before we check you again because, it's uncomfortable going in there. So at around 9, I think, they checked and I was at 6. The midwife said, okay, you're progressing. But one thing that set me off was I like getting familiar with someone who's going to work with me. Let me say like a doctor or a midwife. And so the midwife that I found when I came at 6, I had no idea that they were going to do a whole shift change. So she was like, so I'm leaving and my colleague is going to take over. And that just set me off a bit because I was starting to get comfortable with her. And now they were switching a midwife on me. And I was like, okay, who is this new person that I haven't met? But anyways, the new midwife came in and she was super, super nice. She was really good. So at around 10, the pain, I could still handle it. It was fine. I was like, because mentally I was ready, I was prepared. So whatever pain came at me, I would tell myself, I can do this. I'm a woman, my body can do this. Generations before me have done this. So time went on. At exactly 11, I started feeling like I want to poop. So I was asking the midwife, where's the toilet here? How come this whole labor doesn't have a toilet? I started complaining. She was like, just lay on the bed, whatever is coming, let it come. And I remember there was no poop, but I felt like I wanted to poop. And by this time, the pain had intensified. All the exercises that I was practicing, the breathing, all that just went out the door. Because the pain was so intense. Because I went from feeling relaxed and bouncing on a ball to just so much pain. All I wanted was for the midwife to just like punch me in the back, like on the lower back, because she was like a petite midwife, and so her hand felt like a hammer. So she was like pop, 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 and I felt like at some point her arm even went numb from just punching me. My husband was too strong. When he did it, it was painful. My friend, I tried to tell her to like help me hit my back, but she was too gentle. And the midwife was the only one that can do it right. And I remember when I told her I wanted to pee, because my water hadn't broke. So I guess it felt like I told her I wanted to pee. She was like, okay, let me see. She reached in because it wasn't breaking, and she pulled something, or she poked at something. And I felt this warm thing just gush down. So yeah, as soon as, I'm saying I have 2 minutes left. As soon as my water broke, the pain intensified. I remember just being in so much pain, and just at some point I lost all the strength, and I started praying, because I wasn't like present anymore. I was in some other place because I was in so much pain. And I remember passing out. I don't know if I slept or passed out, but I just passed out. And the next thing I remember waking up was people telling me to push. And yeah, at midnight, my baby came, 4 kgs. They were getting ready to stitch me, to like stitch whatever had got torn down there. And every like the midwife would call one person, they would look in and go back. Another person would come and look inside. So the baby apparently had torn me inside really bad in the birthing canal. His head was so big. Yeah, and they rushed me to theater. I'd lost so much blood. They rushed me to theater at 1:30, and I didn't come out until 5 in the morning. So yeah, but then after that, I was given stool softener for poop, because I was scared of pooping. The stitches down there. I was given stool softener, and I was given some liquid. I've forgotten the name, but it's kind of like Dettol. Dr. Herbert would probably know it. The doctor gave me that stuff to like pour in a basin and sit in to like help disinfect things down there. And so yeah, I went back home. My husband was doing everything. I didn't really have a help, like a maid, or my mom didn't come over. I'm very far away. But yeah, I received good care at home. I drank. My friend boiled for me some herbs to help with the blood the stuff that's still flowing out of me. So I took Mujaja and Chigaji. For those who speak Luganda, you probably know it. That's the stuff I drank every day to help clean my system. And yeah, everything else came easy. Having a newborn at home, breastfeeding, wasn't really hard for me, because I had read a lot. I had researched, I was prepared. So, but it's been really good having a group of women in our WhatsApp group, though we haven't really met each other. It's been amazing to have that support around, because it's easy to go into depression, which have gone into, but it wasn't severe. It's been really good to have those women. Those women keep me sane. You can be in your sad moments, and then you follow the chats. You help encourage someone else who's going through something that you already went through. So it's been really healthy for me to be a part of that. And I hope someday we get to meet. Yeah, thank you so much, Mama Tendo, for this opportunity. And if you have any questions, you can text me. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Lucky. It's just amazing your sharing and what you went through. The last part actually made me a bit sad, staying in theater for that long, stitching you. That it was quite long. I don't know whether it was because the injury was very serious or because they needed things to work on you, an expert to work on you who could not appear on time, because that's quite a long time and it can cause a lot of anxiety. Yes. What happened exactly?
Yeah, so
Why
the
did you
kind
take
of
so
tear,
long in theater?
well, they explained to me later on, but the reason as to why I took so long was the kind of tear I got was inside, and all the musawas that were in theater couldn't do it, and the person that could do it was off that day, so they had to call him. And I remember they gave me the anesthesia, and I was laying there for a long time, for a really long time, and I was losing blood at the same time. So I think just the process of gently entering inside and like stitching things up took such a long time in the theater, and even losing the blood, because apparently to get blood for a blood transfusion at the hospital, they have to like go to the blood bank, apply for it, look for it, make sure it's there, and they do all those other mixtures that they usually do, and then they bring the blood to you. But yeah, I was there for a long time. My baby was crying. My husband was getting so anxious, and no one was really telling him what was happening. And I think while I was in theater, also my body went into shock, and I lost so much blood, so much blood. But yeah, that's some of the stuff. That's some of the events that happened that made me take such a long time. Yeah.
Quite a risky situation, but we thank God who got you from there and gave you your health, baby, and also gave you your health back. Please, when you hear people advocating for better budgets for hospital and better experts, please support, get into the fight, because it concerns all of us. To support, we have to support the people who support us, have our babies, so that there are enough at the hospital and there are no delays, because that was quite a situation actually, and it can be dangerous, especially if she's over bleeding. So thank you so much, Lucky. Back we go right now to Dr. Herbert. Yes, Dr. Herbert.
Let me talk
Yes,
as
Lucky.
Dr. Herbert. This is to Dr. Herbert and other midwives in the group. I feel like now after having the baby, one of the things that I feel like would be really good to have in our medical places, maybe Case already has it, I don't know, but when we go for antenatal, maybe have like birthing classes, because I feel like we lack that, or maybe I was just in Masaka, but to have like birthing, just what positions, because they're telling me to lie in a certain position, and it was so uncomfortable for me. I kept telling them, this is uncomfortable, but that's why they wanted me. I feel like it would be really beneficial if medical clinics or places that labor deliver antenatal care, birthing class, those small things, I feel like from it. And also while in labor, if I wish they could let moms be in the most comfortable position, because I know our default setting is you lay down flat on the bed and just, put legs where you're supposed to put them. I feel like it would be really beneficial if in the labor ward, they could let you choose which position you want. Like, do you want to stand and bend and, or do you want to kneel on the bed? I feel like that would really be good for moms to know.
For sharing. That is quite important. It just depends sometimes on the facility where we have to keep delivering from, because sometimes, like Lucky made the best of decisions to choose to go to a bigger hospital. Sometimes what might be, for example, ideal where you have friends to be by your side might not be feasible, because if she had chosen to deliver in a small clinic, then we would have issues. But luckily enough, she went to a big facility, and that is how she was able to survive. So I think learning lesson, the lesson we have to pick from my friend is that we have to learn to always prioritize delivering in big hospitals. There might be an inconvenience, yes, but in cases of emergencies, then you're much safer off if you're in a big hospital. And then about the birthing positions, and of course, everyone has a different experience, but it would be ideal still to have an ideal place where the beds are able to change and you're able to do all these other maneuvers. Yes. So thank you so much for that experience. It might appear like it's scary, but I think it's a learning point for all of us to be able to learn from Lucky. She was really lucky to make it through, because that was a narrow escape, or what we call a near miss. Not everyone always gets to go through what she went through, but at least for some of our heroes like her, she had to endure and go through such an experience. But it can be better next time, maybe.
As the doctor has said, that was quite an experience. And as he has said, actually, thank God you chose. I believe God led you to go to the big hospital, and it made all the difference, because that bleeding can really become worse and becomes actually very dangerous. So do you have another mother was something to share?
I could share my experience if
Yes.
you don't mind. Am I still there?
Yes, you're still here.
Okay. Now, this is Charity. Mine was, I'm not a first-time mom because I have now 3, but my first experience was very horrible. And actually, it didn't turn out very good. First of all, it was more like Lucky's experience because I took past 40 weeks. The whole pregnancy journey was very smooth. I never vomited. I never craved. So I was just, when it knocked 40 weeks, I waited for the contractions, which didn't come. Then I think I was forced to go to the hospital. Still, there was no sign of labor. The only option was induction. But still after induction, trust me, they failed to come. And what they did, they would tell me to push, but there was no sign of even, like, I don't know even up to now how labor is, because they would tell me to push, but I didn't feel anything that would urge me to push. I stayed in that situation for a long time. And also the issue that Lucky raised, changing of shifts. I think maybe the hospitals also, when a certain group is already working on a mother, I think they would wait until the mother finishes. Because in that, there was a shift change, decision to be made to take me to the theater after everything failing. Okay, so I was still saying that after still the contractions failing, I think the only decision to be made was to take me to the theater, which didn't happen. So by that time, when you no longer even know what is on earth, I think there is a procedure they did. I don't know whether the doctor has ever had it. They call it vacuum extraction. So that vacuum extraction, I think, was done when the baby is already very tired. It's a horrible procedure, if I may say. But thankfully,
what exactly happened? Charity, what exactly happens in the vacuum extraction of the baby?
They use an equipment like to pull out the baby from inside you. I think that equipment, they kind of put something on the baby's head to forcefully pull out the baby from inside. Because like I said, I didn't get any contraction, any urge to push, even after being induced. Remember, I was past 40 or maybe 42, somewhere And even extraction.
We lose you. We lose you. Just explain that experience
That's my
once
brief
again.
story.
So did they take out? Did they take out the baby? Dr. Herbert, are you back? Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Another setting, yeah. But thank you very much, Charity, and
Yes.
okay. Yeah, thank you
can
very much.
proceed.
I'll just request maybe my other colleagues to help me mute. Of course, it doesn't need to always be this painful. Like, of course, it is stress. In medicine, you have to have options, and you're like, if I'm to do a cesarean section, how fast can I be able to save? Because we don't have replay buttons, like I said. So a vacuum, this is where we try to put a plastic cap on the baby's head, and you try to gently, in addition to the mother's effort, to help her to try to deliver a baby. And of course, when you do it in medicine, every decision we make is important, and its repercussions can be serious. So we have to make timely decisions. If you're to make a cesarean section, do it there and then. Because even if you're to do a cesarean section, but it's done late, then it comes with issues. And of course, when we are giving birth, I think from Lucky and Charity, we are picking that sometimes labor is unpredictable. And all of us can imagine the very best, which can actually happen. Some people come, they deliver, maybe even I've delivered 4-kilogram babies, and they go home with no tear, no suture, labor very short. Yeah, but I think over time, I've also learned that I'm created in God's image, and that I can create like God. So you can start creating a good atmosphere. Like, I think at the end of it all, some of the mothers are like really scared, and you're like, oh God, I'll never have a normal delivery. But we can pray it, and you just ask, and God helps you and gives your heart's desire a very beautiful experience. And then also we have to learn that I think you have to also, for us as health workers, because like you can imagine, like for example, in Lucky's situation, she came in very early at 5, delivered like at midnight. And now also the doctors and the midwives, maybe they have families, they have little children who call them mommy, daddy. Sometimes it's so scary when your children have to call you auntie or uncle because you're never in their lives. You touch your child and the child is running away from you like a stranger. So sometimes it's quite interesting balancing being a good person who has to stay sane at all time, and yet also be a parent. So I think with also the experience of Lucky trying to talk about what she was feeling. So when the head is also down, the baby's head is down and is compressing the gut, or it's compressing the bladder, you feel like you want to pass urine and it seems like it's not coming out. Or sometimes you feel like you're passing stool and the stool doesn't seem to be coming out. It's just because of the pressures. So these are some of the other signs that you could get that can encourage you to go to hospital. So I think we needed a backup plan, like from Lucky, because these are the testimonies I have. She had a friend and they notified a friend that I'll be going into labor, and thankfully the friend was there for her. So I think as a lesson also, we need to, as mothers, we need to start planning. Labor is a process. It takes you 9 months. Let's try to plan to have someone at least to escort you to hospital. I know some women are very strong. They can even push a baby at home alone, but sometimes life has no replay buttons and life is too short to learn everything by mistake. So I think having learned from this one, it's important to deliver in a well-facilitated place where there is theater, because all these mothers, Charity and Lucky, the way they share, they all went out and they had made up their minds to go and just have a normal delivery. But ultimately, it turned out that they needed to go to theater at some point, much as they all had the vaginal delivery. So whenever we are thinking of a place, let's think of a place which has a theater, it has blood, and then you have a good supportive team, because this is what gets you going. And I know there are many health workers also on this platform. From CASE, it's teaching us that, one, we need to be understanding. Labor is an emotionally draining moment, and we need to work together with the new moms and expectations. So a little away, okay, now like you've been able to deliver a baby, there are some drugs that we have to give, and sometimes even I've had to do a cesarean section. And it's not that the cesarean section is the ultimate safest thing, because also there are demerits also when it comes to the cesarean section. So not everyone needs to have a Caesar just because of fear. You know, I like it when I keep speaking to my patients and they keep telling me that, oh, I'm going to die, I'm going to do this. And I'm like, confession is possession. And God does not give any spirit of fear. You're going to push his baby and you're going to be well. And actually it comes out, because whatever I notice that in COVID days, the patients who believe that they're going to die, they actually died. But those had the fighting spirit, they actually endured through in my patients. So one of the key things that teaches us that even in labor, make up that mind, make up the determination, have the determination that I'll make it, and go fight to the very end until really there are so many joys thereafter. So after you've delivered, of course, everyone has their theories, but the key important thing, like from Lucky's situation where they bled, we have to take our blood tablets, because if you don't take your blood tablets, your hemoglobin level is going to fall, and then this pushes you closer to getting a blood transfusion. And we only want to transfuse you surely when it's really called for. So there are some injections that we give that might not be at home, like pitocin, like gometrin. Sometimes there's some misoprostol. Yeah, even when you're convinced that you're going to deliver from home, it would be important to know that actually you need these drugs to be available. And sometimes we give patients all these drugs and they don't even seem to be working, and we have to use drugs like carboprost. So it's important that we prioritize where we are going to be able to deliver from. So also it comes, we have to build a good support system at home. I'm grateful for Lucky's husband, who is always there and supporting. It's also challenging to a new mother. If you've been surviving alone, now there is a little baby. Sometimes you look at the baby and the milk is not coming. You're feeling like, okay, now what do I do with this little new human being who only communicates by crying, and even the crying irritates you. So at what point do I even know that I'm breaking? Because sometimes I like it when I'm the firstborn, and it's really interesting when you're firstborn. Sometimes you're not used to running and running and running to people. You first solve problems until things get really too tight on you. So it's important that even after I've delivered, what are some of those signs that show that, okay, yes, I've left hospital, but I might need to check around? When you find like you're not liking the baby that much, you don't want to associate a lot with the baby, maybe it's a sign that I'm breaking down and I need help. So there's those psychological challenges, and sometimes in a small percentage, you can actually mentally break down without knowing, what we call maternal blues or postpartum psychosis. So how do you take care of yourself? One, the baby has to breastfeed at least every 2 hours during the day. It's important because it helps the uterus to contract and also helps you to bond with your baby, and it also helps the baby to get a timetable. Because if you allow the baby to sleep during the day, baby will be awake at night. So you're going to be awake at night and sleepy during the day. So that disturbs your sleep pattern, and in a way it causes headaches, it causes depression. So let's feed the baby every 2 hours. When you get home, the first day the baby is not going to shower because we are fearing the temperatures might fall. So the other thing, what we do immediately we get home, babies never shower cold water, they shower warm water, and then maybe at most like not every now and then that you feel that the baby is crying, that they are having heat. So we are going to learn even after we've delivered that every time the baby cries, am I crying because I'm scared? Am I crying because I'm hungry? Am I crying because I need my diaper to be changed? So the baby sometimes even after we've delivered, they might be like sneezy because inside of your uterus have been in water. When they come out, they're not in water. So sometimes it can feel like they have flu. Sometimes they can feel like they're having hiccups, but it's just because of the dynamics of adjusting to the new environment. And sometimes they feel like they have a stutter, like they just keep like they're shaking. So that is also important to know that sometimes it's normal. What are the danger signs in a baby? When a baby is having a temperature, when baby is not breastfeeding, and when a baby is crying a lot. Those are signs that you need to come and check on hospital. So when you deliver, usually blood will keep coming, Lucky took mujaja and some other herbs. But that blood sometimes will keep coming because it's where the placenta has been sitting. So as the uterus contracts, sometimes some blood can keep oozing. So the normal trend is that you're going to be bleeding sometimes about 1-2 weeks. You can see fresh blood, then it changes to brownish, it turns to yellowish, clear to stopping. And all of us have different times when this bleeding stops. Every time you breastfeed, in Buganda, I've seen people giving a lot of Coca-Cola, but the uterus contracts. And as it contracts when you're breastfeeding, it feels like what they call a choker. So that uterus contracting. Usually we give you painkillers, but some take Coca-Cola. I don't know whether it's working, but somehow. So sometimes you stitch, other times you don't stitch, but it depends on the extent of the tear. Sometimes I've delivered women who haven't gotten any tears, but in case they've gotten tears, again, don't sit in too much salt, because too much salt is going to dehydrate the cells, and then the sutures are going to cut. So when we've stitched you, usually for the vagina, it has to expand a little more for the baby's head to come out. So it's a little swollen, what we call edematous. So don't walk too much, because the suture we use has the same strength. So when you move too much, it's going to cut through, and then that is going to widen. And now this mix up is what causes many women to have their sutures giving way. So don't sit on a hard place for the same reason I've given you, because then the suture is going to cut through. And people have gotten Camonine and many of these drugs, but the antibiotics we give usually are enough to clean the wound. If you don't balance the salt right, and you sit in even that salt, it can have detrimental effects. Detrimental meaning it's going to dehydrate the cells, they're going to shrink, and then you're going to get tears. So when you've stitched you, it's important that one, you sit on a soft place. Don't put soap down. You know, everyone has theories that when you need to get omo, then you sit in the omo. That's how you're going to avoid pain. So no, that won't work. So just shower normally about 2 to 3 times. It's adequate enough. We've given you antibiotics to stop infections. Of course, when you come back in Buganda, and that's what I know mostly, and that's where I've practiced a lot. Then they're going to get some of the herbs, try to press you. We do not have any reasons whether it would work or not, but overemphasizing that and applying them, sometimes they can introduce infections. So it's important to keep a very good balance of the two. And then, of course, some people they don't want a big tummy. Of course, the tummy has been there enlarged for 9 months. And usually people want it to disappear immediately. So immediately they've just delivered, they get gutters, they tie the tummy, they want it to go back immediately. But I think if you woke up one day and you found a jackfruit tree in front of your gate, you would be shocked, because life is a process. So we need to allow the body also to go back slowly. Of course, after you've delivered, be careful, because I think what causes a big tummy and the big butt is that people are looking for breast milk. So they give you a lot of porridge, you eat a lot of katogo to get breast milk, and whatever sugar is not used, the body converts it into fat, and that fat is going to be deposited for a woman in the tummy and then butt. So you're going to find the protruding tummy and then the butt stopping the other end. So it's important that you eat normally, even after you've been operated, or even after you've had a normal delivery, because the tying might not necessarily explain the physiology. The key thing is that you don't have a lot of unnecessary sugars that you don't use. So this is how we take care. What is important is that in the first 6 hours, you want to ensure that someone is taking good care of you. And even when you're strong and you feel like, yeah, me, I've grown up as a firstborn, or like I'm used to doing things by myself, or I like my space, I don't like a lot. All of us need this care after we've delivered. So I see Frank is also on. I don't know whether Frank is the head of department in obstetrics and gynec case. He could say a few words, closing remarks, but for now, this is what is important. This is how we would transition. And so that is why actually people are given maternity leave. Why do people give maternity leave? That it takes you about 2 to 3 months to have your body going back slowly to its normal size. So don't rush everything. There is also a role of contraception. Usually you can conceive if you're going to deliver immediately. Sometimes your fertility can return as early as 3 weeks to 6 weeks if you're not going to be breastfeeding. So you can actually conceive, and before the maternity leave is done, you're actually carrying another baby. yet this is already too much stressful. The pregnancy, it can be another experience, but also conceiving back to back, it's another experience. So according to the World Health Organization, we want you at least to take 2 years, especially if you're less than 35. But of course, if you're more than 35, you might need to catch up a little sooner. Maybe we need to have a private chat. But then we think about also contraception after we've delivered. So this is how we talk about the postnatal care, and we'll try to talk through and walk us through the labor process, but it can be a beautiful experience. Not everyone ends up having the scary ones, but I like it when we have these scary ones, because in medicine, when they are training us, they train us for the worst case scenario. So as a doctor, you keep thinking, what can go wrong? Why is everything so right? So that is how we are wired up, and it helps us not to miss out on the key important aspects of care. But labor can be as a beautiful experience as ever. Just like not everyone vomits, like Charity said, she never ever vomited at any one point. The pregnancy was very well and perfect. So you can actually have a very beautiful experience through pregnancy, and a very, very experience through delivery, and a good parenting. So I don't want us to be like, when you get a normal delivery, I mean a normal pregnancy, then, oh, watch out, I knew something bad was going to come, because the way things were appearing, it couldn't have been good all the way through. So it can actually be a beautiful experience. I don't want us to live in fear, because God has not given us a spirit of fear. And people have been able to deliver. They have beautiful experiences. And sometimes some people deliver like in 2-3 hours, and they're like, I thought it was supposed to be complicated. So just like you prepare for this paper, academic paper, you read, and think the paper is going to be very hard. And you're shocked that it actually not as hard as it seemed. So it can equally be a very beautiful experience. Yeah, it would be nice to take a bit of questions, a bit of a break or something. So I don't want to be too monotonous, but this is how we go. And we've only talked about a normal delivery, but even a cesarean section, it's equally interesting. Nowadays, medicine is safe, so we really want to go there. It's also another experience, but of course, you know, usually I am a lecturer at Makerere, and sometimes some of these take so many years. I mean, like, it's a course you need to do it like over 4 or so weeks, but we're only giving us a little bit of minutes. So you guys are too sharp. That's why we are thinking that we can even summarize it and keep it this brief, but actually it can be a little more if you ask more questions. Yeah, thank you very much. I don't know whether Dr. Cheyune has any closing remarks in the meantime before we invite.
Yes, Dr. Cheyune, you are welcome to say a word or two. And we thank you so much for tuning in. And of course, we are always very grateful to Case Hospital for their input in teaching mothers, in supporting mothers. And I was telling one of the mothers who was so scared about going to hospital that we'll have some time and have, it doesn't mean you are going to deliver from Case Hospital, but Case Hospital can actually take us through the process of what happens when mothers go to give birth, so that you see exactly what happens. So we are organizing that small tour for those mothers who might be interested, so that they get to the hospital and see exactly what happens and what every instrument, any tests that they may do on you, what it means. So that will be so soon. And if you're interested, just get in touch so that you may be part of that team which tours the hospital. I believe it's very important for mothers to familiarize themselves with the whole birth process even before they are giving birth. So yes, Dr. Cheyune, are you?
I just want to take this opportunity to thank you for hosting this kind of talk. Is very good, and I just want to thank my colleague Dr. Herbert for the talk, and since it started, and I have a few things to say, and I just want everyone to know that pregnancy and childbirth should be enjoyed, but planning is very crucial, because without plan, sometimes we see some few delays here and there, and things may not go the way we expect. Now, one thing people have to know that now Sustainable Development Goal number 3, 4, and 5. Number 3 talks about gender equality and empower women. I don't know whether ladies are really empowered, because we see a lot of decision making left onto the men's side, which is really a problem.
Dr. Frank, is it possible to switch on your camera?
Okay, thank you so much. So we see a lot of decision making being left on the side of men, which is a problem. I don't know. We want to really empower women so that they can have better decision making on their side, because delay in this has been shown to actually have an impact of the newborn and the mother itself. Then also development goal number 4, we know very well it says we want to do as much as possible, and this includes even the newborns. And also goal number 5, to improve maternal health. Now, when you look at those goals, I don't know whether much has been done really to empower women when it comes to decision making. We see a lot of gaps there. When you start finding a mother delaying at home because he has to make calls from here and there to come to the hospital, or to make a decision on whether to go to the hospital when labor started, it shows that the birth plan. So that decision making should be very clear. In case of any problem, in case of any complication, how am I going to move? And even transport should be very clear. Not every mother has a privilege of a private vehicle. So it's good to plan as early as possible on how you are going to transport yourself from home to a health facility. Because the moment you transport, the moment that is very clear, then you'll find that you reach a hospital. And we want a health facility because we know we want every pregnant mother to deliver in a health facility with a skilled birth attendant. That's the way to go. So yes, we know there are cultural issues surrounding childbirth. You find some mothers want to go to the village birth attendants, but we encourage and want as much as possible for every mother to deliver with a skilled birth attendant, and that's in a health facility. And in that also, we want to involve during the birth plan, to involve the birth companions, and a mother has a choice to choose who they will be with right away from the beginning, whether her mother herself, the husband, a friend, or the mother in-law. The mother herself may not really, he was able to see what was happening, but sometimes it's very difficult for a mother to give us all the account of what happened during childbirth. That's why when there's a birth companion who is there to give courage, they can see what is happening and they can give an account.
So those points are important for us to note. Frank could have lost the connection, but also maybe before we have the other presentation, there are some investigations that we are going to do when you come in labor. Of course, we do like a complete blood count to be able to tell.
Hello?
Yes, Frank, you can go on.
In that regard, we encourage men involvement during childbirth, because actually this has been shown that it reduces some of the time and also in decision making for during childbirth. Lucky asked a question about birth positions. actually mother can deliver in any position, but sometimes the dynamics of the health facility on whether the bed can turn to a position of choice, and also on how birth should be controlled so that we reduce on some of these complications we see. Actually, if you are delivered in a position of choice, probably you wouldn't have had a very bad perineal tear to that extent, because actually the baby maneuver through until when the child comes out of the birth canal, till birth attendants, they try as much as possible the mother not to get the severe forms of perineal damage. And that's always, it can be mitigated all the way when the baby tries to come out through the birth canal. So the mother can deliver from any position of choice. Thank you, Tendo, for hosting us.
Yes.
Colleague. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much. That's quite interesting that I pick your remark that probably if Lucky had given birth in a position of her choice, she would not have had those life-threatening tears. And I think it's very important to explore our choices and know which positions the mother is comfortable in. It is something that we need to tell mothers more. So thank you very much, Dr. Cheyune Frank, always for your support, even when I come to case looking for some information and writing articles on childbirth. You are always very helpful. Thank you very much. Patricia, are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Because we are about to end, but you're on the program. Are you ready to share with us? Okay, please, you're most welcome. Yes, Patricia, share with us your experience.
Thank you, Mama Tendo. Thank you, Dr. Herbert and Dr. Frank, and thank you for your stories, Lucky and Charity. So, for me, I think my story starts when I did get pregnant, but it wasn't planned. So, because of the stress, I bleeded like the first few weeks. But then, you know, I started antenatal, I was given the iron, and I think the only time I vomited is when I took iron without eating food. So I learned that lesson, and I knew every time I take iron, I need to eat my food. I did a lot of walking. I liked swimming, so I did a lot of swimming. And I also liked dancing, and I did a lot of dancing. So for me, pregnancy was smooth. I remember I chose a doctor that was recommended by a friend to be a good doctor. No matter what, he will, even in any emergency, he will come through. But I realized that doctor was very busy. But, you know, we went through the 9-10 months, and then he told me 3 things, just like Dr. Herbert said. It will either be water breaking or a mucus plug or contractions. But they told me contractions are like cramps. I have never gotten cramps, so I didn't know what people are talking about. So I remember 8th came, which was my EDD day. There was no baby. And they told me if it doesn't come in a week's time, you come and we induce you. So 8th was a Friday. And then on Sunday, in the night, I feel uncomfortable. I go to the toilet and the mucus plug happens. But I told myself, I'm not going to tell anyone in the house. I'll wait till the morning and then I will deal with that. But the funniest thing is in the morning, I was very, I would say motherly. I wanted to clean, I wanted to cook, I wanted to do all those things. And everyone looked at me of like, what's wrong with you? We should go to the hospital already. I was like, no, we first eat. But just like Lucky, I think I had read a lot about pregnancy and giving birth, you know, the breathing. I had read a lot. I had packed, not just the baby, but also myself. Because in most cases, maybe you can focus on the baby and you forget that you as a mother, you also, let's say, need certain clothes, certain type of care. Anyway, we got the hospital and my doctor is not there, but their midwives, they check me and they're like, no, nothing. So we had to pack up our things and take them back home. And I was so, sad, but I kept telling myself, walk, dance, this will happen. So the doctor called me in the evening, because I remember I went in the morning to the hospital and I told to go back home. The doctor called me in the evening and was like, is there anything? I was like, nothing. So he's like, time your contractions. If they are 3 minutes apart, then you can come to the hospital. I slept normally, but then the bed was uncomfortable. So I moved to the sitting room. And then, I would time on my phone. And then I realized, wait, it's actually 3 minutes apart. That was like at 4. At that point, I was in my mother's house. So I tell my mother, let's go to the hospital. She's like, no, you wait. So we did that like until 5, 6. And by the time I reached the hospital, they were like, we can actually see you, the head of the baby. Let's take you to the delivery room. When we went to the delivery room, I felt like it was a lot of confusion. People saying things I didn't know you were supposed to pull. People were like, pull. And I'm like, what are we doing? So eventually, the midwives did it like for 1 hour. And they were like, you can't push. You're going to the theater. And I'm like, okay, we have tried for a whole hour now. I'm being told I can't push. So in all that confusion, I had forgotten to call my doctor. So they asked me, give us your doctor's number. I gave them my doctor's number, and my doctor was like, don't take her to the theater. I am coming. I don't know how he drove from Entebbe to Novik in a few minutes, but he was there. He checked me and I was like, what were the last kilograms you measured for this baby? I was like, I think 3.5. He was like, no, this baby is small. You're going to push. In like 10 minutes, the baby was out. So for me, I was like, I think the most important thing is get a good doctor. Get a good doctor. We go to hospital, nice, give us good facilities, but if you don't get a doctor that is good, anything can happen. And it's true, plans can change. So a mother, I think, needs to have peace if a plan changes from, vaginal birth to a C-section. Because at the end of the day, it's your life and the baby's life. So when plans change, have peace with it and go through with it. Now, after that, I think within the hour, I breastfed the baby. We went to our room. But when we went to our room, from 7 till 12, I didn't know I had to breastfeed a baby. Like, I didn't know. I felt like that's one thing I didn't even read about, didn't learn about me. I thought I've done my job. The baby is out. She's alive. We are now happy. So a pid comes like at 12 and is like, have you breastfed your baby? I'm like, what are you talking about? It's like, you had to breastfeed your baby every after 2 hours. So the midwife again comes, squeezes my boobs and is like, get formula. And I'm like, get formula? You haven't even taught me how to breastfeed. You just temuli mata. So we had to run around pharmacies, get formula, get bottles, and feed the baby. Fast forward, I used to do that formula, but to me, it was very tasking. Every 2 hours, you're getting up, making formula, getting up, making formula. I went back to Google, I went back to YouTube, and I'm like, today, I have to learn how to breastfeed my child. And I learned how to breastfeed my child using the resources that we have. And from that day, life was okay. I learned how, it starts from breastfeeding every 2 hours, then you keep pushing every 3 hours, then you keep pushing every 4 hours. And one thing, at least I can also add for any mother out there, get knowledge. Get knowledge. No one was born having known how to push a child, breastfeed a child, take care of the child. Get knowledge. If you're asking mothers that have done it, well and good. If you're Googling, well and good. If you're reading books, get knowledge. And just like Lucky said, I think all new mothers need those birthing classes, because I could have learned how to breastfeed from a birthing class. I could have learned all those things, but I didn't know where to go. All I knew is I was pregnant. At some point, I had to deliver and then have a baby, and then maybe the baby magically grows. So thank you very much for having me, and that is my story in a nutshell. And I hope, a mother out there takes something from it. Like Dr. Hubbard says, children are a gift.
Patricia, thank you so much for sharing. Hi, Patricia. Thank you so much for sharing. Oh, thank you very much. So thank you so much for sharing. It was quite dramatic because by the time you reached hospital, the baby's head was already seen.
Yeah.
And I don't know why the decision was that the midwives thought that you are going to be a theater case. Had you stopped progressing? And what exactly did your doctor do when he came to the hospital?
I think the midwives more just kept saying, push, push, but I didn't know what I was doing. As a new mother, you don't know at what point am I supposed to push. Yeah. But then when the doctor came in, it's like he calmed me down of like, Patricia, you know how Dr. Abba talked about speaking life into situations? He told me, Patricia, calm down. This is a small baby and you'll be able to push. So he told me when you feel those contractions, that is the time for you to push. So I had learned about that breathing, those breathing tips of you breathe in and then out. Because at some point they were like, the baby's not even getting oxygen because there was a lot happening. This one is telling you, you're not being serious, you're not pushing. But when he came, he calmed me down and it's like, when you feel those contraction things, that is the time you start pushing. And when I felt them, I pushed. Did he make some small incisions? Yes, he did. But for me, I felt like the whole pushing labor thing didn't hurt. Actually, the thing that hurt the most for me was the stitching. Other than that, he calmed me down. He told me you can actually push this baby. And he just made, small cuts so that at least the head will fit. But I think for me, that's what he did. And at that point, I believed, you know what, if he says I can push, I can actually push this baby out. So I think that for me, that's what I would say he did. Because the other people seemed to keep saying things of like, she can't, she has failed, and you're like, okay, what am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? So I think also encouraging mothers, mostly first-time mothers who have no idea of what this experience is like is really good, important, vital. Yeah.
That is quite interesting. That, when there's so much drama, and I think a good professional midwives don't cause that kind of drama around us. They don't cause that kind of drama around us. The situation is to calm a person. When you get so worked up, we all know when you're so worked up about anything, you cannot. When you are so worked up about different situations in your own life, you cannot make decisions because you are not settled. So what about in labor when there's so much drama going on? This one midwife is saying one, another midwife is saying another thing. It can be quite overwhelming and scaring. But I thank God when the doctor came, that the first thing he had to do is to make sure that you are calmed down, you are not in an overactive state. And so your body was able to relax and do what it should be able to do. We thank God who saw you through. How was it healing the stitches? Just briefly, very fast.
Healing the stitches. My doctor had actually told me sit in lukewarm, salty water. The midwives were like, don't. So for like a week, I was as if limping. And you go back for that check of you as a mother, and he was like, but Patricia, what did I tell you? So even if in my head it sounded painful, and like Dr. Hubbard said, maybe sometimes the ratio of salt and water might not be good, I did exactly that. I put in lukewarm water, I put in salt, and I sat, and in like 2 days I was good to go. And my head was like, why did I delay? So for me, I sat in lukewarm water with a bit of salt, and my stitches, I was fine to go, because before I was actually limping like as if I was lame. And I would try to sit on soft surfaces because it was actually painful. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Patricia, for sharing your experience. And I know there are so many first-time moms on both YouTube and and Zoom who are hearing this message and learning one thing or two. What is your take home from this seminar? Make sure you give birth to a facility where you know they are prepared to help you when you need extra help. As we heard from Lucky, everything was fine. The birth went on, but after that, she got a complication of bleeding and the tears. We heard from Charity. Charity, are you on now? Charity, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm still with you.
Is your network better? Yes, you are concluding for us about when they did the vacuum. Is it the vacuum? Did you experience a lot of tears? So you lost your baby, you were not hearing. Did you lose your baby? How was it losing your baby and then you are still in that condition? Yes, you can complete if you have a small network. And we should conclude, we should be closing in the next 10 minutes.
Well, the whole experience was a bit horrible, but at the end of the day, after losing the baby, you have to admit.
Yes, the network has disappointed us regarding Charity, but it was good to hear her story. You know why I wanted her to tell her story? Because I realized from my own experience, when you tell your child birth story, especially if you pass through trauma, it is kind of a healing process. Telling your story and others hearing it, it's as if you are shedding off that weight, because it is part of the pain, you know, in your soul. It is so, because the time was so intense, we tend to keep that pain in us. That is why you find that if you go through a challenging birth time, for about 6 months, you can keep on crying and just crying for no good reason. Every small thing sparks you off and you're just in tears. So telling a challenging story is therapy, and mothers feel better, but they also heal better as they hear comforting words from other mothers. Unless someone else wants to say something, I'll just give to one person. Does anyone have something they want to say in particular, a warning, an encouragement, a word of caution to mothers before we close up the seminar?
Thank you very much, Mama Tendo and the doctors in the house. Very informative session. Working with mothers as a public health officer, it is a great initiative, you know, in trying to sort out the many delays. I would also want to say that I think there's a missing gap on when mothers should begin their family planning. So you find a lot of mothers now are sitting, waiting for their next period, they're breastfeeding, hoping they will not get pregnant. And you find a mother has a young child and has a pregnancy too. So I think as we run the antenatal clinics, most probably it is something that should be included in our antenatal and postnatal care. Thank you very much. A very informative session it was.
Thank you very much. And also, on top of what Faith has said, apart from that, I don't know whether Dr. Kaiga mentioned it and I missed it, but of course, the 6-week check he mentioned, and also doing cervical cancer testing during that time. I know two friends of mine who checked at 6 weeks, and they were developing those cancer cells. There are women in their late 20s and early 30s. So don't think that you are too young because you are in your 20s. The way this cancer develops, it can develop over time, but when cells are seen early, they are arrested. So be proactive and make sure that when you go for that check, you also have that cervical cancer screening done for you. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to thank you so much for being part of this seminar. Mothers, I want to thank you for sharing your stories. You don't know which chords in other mothers' lives you have touched, but for sure, There are people who are just going into this process, and I know they have picked very important information that is going to help them make life-saving decisions in some circumstances. So thank you very much. I just want to say once again that help us and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you have not, just check in the chats. And if my team is there, quickly drop the link again. But you can still go where there are chats and you see, because they've been dropping the link. Please subscribe and support Mama Tendo Foundation, which is a charity and a charity that supports families. And we thank God so much that Case Hospital has been able to sponsor and support Mama Tendo Foundation in this. We do have also our shop, Mama Tendo shop online. If you are in business, you are most welcome to buy some space, to buy a shop and advertise your goods. It is 60,000 for 3 months, and you can buy space, upload as many products as you want, and start selling to people. We promote the shop, and you can also promote the shop. So thank you very much. We will be back here in a month's time handling another topic, and make sure you educate yourself. As Patricia said, it's very important that you read. I was so impressed that Lucky and Patricia had read enough information to help them, and it came in handy at the time of birth. So make sure you inform yourself, watch videos, listen to testimonies, join the WhatsApp group if you're not part of it, share whatever little or whatever issue you may have. Mothers are always willing to support you. So thank you very much. Hope you have subscribed to our channel. And we will also be having a retreat. We shall be communicating the date. This time we will have a different program, but we shall also inform you about it. So thank you very much. And if there is nothing to say and no one has something burning, I want to ask one of the participants to say a prayer for us. Dr. Herbert, I see your hand is up. Yes.
Yes, yeah. Thank you very much, Mama Tendo,
yes,
for this
Dr.
opportunity to be a blessing. Thank you so much for the many voices that you reach out to. We appreciate this extra mile. I know it's really challenging over the weekend, trying to put everything together. But we are all sharing. I like it when we read. I like this verse, Isaiah 66 verse 7. It says, before she goes in labor, she brings birth. Before the pains come upon her, she delivers a son. So it can actually be a beautiful experience, giving birth. And like everything, of course, we can do the reading and a lot of the many things that we do. Let's not forget to pray, because this is an aspect of childbirth, and it's really important. And it's, as much as it's important to us, it's also important to God. So it's beautiful because God has given us a task to go and multiply and fill the earth. But if it's painful and scary, then we are not doing our role. So I want to clap for you all, our participants. Thank you for the extra mile to put in everything. I pray we support Mama Tendo Foundation, and we should get more heroes. Like, I think the next Heroes Award, she needs to be appreciated for this good job to reach out to people at such a moment as this. There is no moment that we feel so vulnerable like this, but I think she deserves that accord. Otherwise, thank you very much, and may the Lord richly bless you and expand your horizon. Thank you, and we'll wait for the prayer. Thank you.